Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Stephanie Myers and I'm the Marketing Manager at Emergency Communications Network. We wanted to thank you for your interest in today's webinar and we really do appreciate your time. To the many current clients that we have on today's call, it is so nice to connect with you again, and to those who don't know about our company, we're actually headquartered in Ormond Beach, Florida, and we provide high-speed mass notification services to a variety of clients that represent all 50 states. We've also recently expanded to Canada. So just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. If you have any questions during the webinar, please submit your questions through the webinar question box. It's located on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. We will answer all questions at the end of the session to accommodate those with time constraints. At the end of today's session, we will send you a copy of the presentation, and we do encourage you to share it with colleagues or friends that may benefit from this information. We also encourage you to connect with us, with our company, on Emergency Communications Network on our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and WordPress, or you can also just visit our website to learn more about us. That website is ecnetwork.com. It's now my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Rosemary Tutt. Rosemary is an assistant professor of communication at Flagler College, where she has taught for 9 years. She is a certified public relations counselor who also ran her own public relations firm for 16 years. So at this time, I will hand it over to Rosemary, and we hope you enjoy today's session. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you, Stephanie, for the nice introduction. And I just want to welcome everyone to the webinar, and I also want to welcome you to the journey down the road of social media. It's an exciting field. It's something reasonably new, although today it's part of what we do in the field of communication, and basically it's a necessary tool for many organizations, many businesses. So I'm going to talk to you about a number of different things, and we'll start out, hopefully, by giving you an idea of what we're going to do. Just 1 minute, I'm trying to get this up and running. Just 1 second. Because I have my agenda for you to look at. There it is. The topics of our webinar. There's so many different areas that we need to discuss, but I thought I would basically divide it down to various sections that need to be considered before we get into any type of social media campaign. So first of all, we'll talk about the concept, and it is a shift in perception. How we look at communication with our various audiences has certainly changed over the years. And the fact that conversation, the core of social media, leads to engagement, and that's ultimately what we want to achieve in the area of social media. Now, there are challenges, no question, but those challenges can lead to new opportunities. A better level of engagement, the way of promoting our brand, and we all have a brand, and complete interaction with our target audiences. That leads me to my next point. We're going to really look at defining our audience. Who and what are we trying to accomplish? What are our goals, and who are we trying to reach? Now, content. It is all about content. Not just a matter of posting, but what do people really want to hear? What do they want to see? How do they want to connect with your organization? The next point, there are so many choices out there. It's overwhelming. We're involved right now in a social media state of clutter. So the question is, what social media works best for you? We can't do it all. We never propose that an organization takes on everything. It's almost totally impossible. But what's the best choice? Based on all of the above, our audience, our goals, the desire to engage, and what are we trying to ultimately gain from the social media experience? So having said all that, we'll take a look then also at evaluating the social media efforts. How can we be sure that what we're trying to do is actually accomplished? And there are certain metrics that we're going to be looking for. So that's the lineup for this morning, and thank you once again for being with me, and let's get started. Okay, I want to talk about the shift in perception. Now, it's a whole lot more than a matter of digital technologies. It's a matter of how the publics derive meaning from your communication. So meaning is the key word. What are you really trying to get across? From your Facebook posts, from your Twitter tweets, from your YouTube postings, whatever you're going to be using. The tools surrounding social media change our perception of reality. And as you can see by many of the latest YouTube videos that have been out, our perception as to how an issue is relating to us and to our community have definitely changed, because social media is configuring it possibly differently than what we imagined. It also affects our view of political engagement, of course, relationships with others, certainly, the products that we offer, our target audiences, and our brand. And as I said before, we're all our own brand. Our companies have to be distinct. I've always believed that if you can take a competitor and basically take their name off and put your name on, you don't have a brand. You have to be distinctive. And the spread of ideas. Social media, definitely. Things go viral in just a matter of minutes. And the perfect example of that has occurred in the last couple of days. And I'm sure you're all familiar with the police officer in New York City. That whole situation with a gentleman providing shoes for the homeless individual in Times Square has gone viral. The hits are totally amazing, staggering. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to talk about, that shift in perception. Now, social media. We're going to look at basically three distinct components. And as I say, it's not just a matter of, oh, we'll go with this or we'll use this social media tool. There are three levels that we have to think about before we even get involved. It is a new level of two-way engagement with our target audience. The public now has a voice. Yes, they do. That's the good part. They do expect to be heard. Also good. And they will give you feedback. That can go into a number of different areas. Positive, neutral, or negative. Because of that level of two-way engagement, now it's up to us. We can't turn our backs on the feedback that they are giving us. We have to respond, and we have to be transparent. Now, the second component, it is powered by ever-changing digital technology. And this is where I was talking about the clutter. It's a good thing. Digital technology is moving things so quickly into so many different levels of engagement, far beyond anything we ever thought about. But how do you keep up? It's not an easy chore. And that's why I say it's a matter of sorting through the clutter that works for you. Now, technology also offers ease and simplicity, because now we have become almost citizen journalists. Not almost, we have. We can publish, we can produce information. You and I can contribute to the public discourse, the public conversation. We can, and I use the term with my classes, get in the game. That's important. Now, these factors I really want you to think about when you're putting together your social media campaign. It involves communication, yes. Connections, definitely, with the right audiences. Conversations, transparency, ongoing, the open door. Collaboration, for sure, and multimedia, all that technology that's out there. Okay, let's take a look and see what else we have here. Now, I pulled some of these stats, and you'll see my sources at the conclusion of the presentation, from a video that has been produced by a gentleman that many of us consider to be a social media guru. And the reason I want to share them with you, those individuals, and I don't think there are too many out there today, that say there's really no place for social media. It's a fad. It's going away next week. I don't think so. According to him, he said Facebook tops Google for weekly traffic in the U.S. And you know, Google has almost become a verb. If you want to find out about something, what do? You Google it. Well, Facebook's on the cutting edge of that. If Facebook were a country, it would be the third largest and twice the size of the U.S. population. That alone is staggering. So it's its own world. A new member joins LinkedIn every second. LinkedIn we often refer to as the business connection. It's a way of furthering your professional network. We'll talk a little bit more about the value of that later on in the presentation. So it's popular, it's being used, and professionals are definitely getting involved with it. The second largest search engine in the world is YouTube. That might be surprising to a lot of people, but YouTube has become incredibly valuable. And once again, almost like Google, you want to find out about something, you type in what you're looking for in YouTube, and you'll probably find a video that pops up that targets exactly what you're looking for. Now, it's between you and I. That's my next point. 90% of consumers trust peer recommendations. So, what does that mean to the advertising profession? Well, advertising is now moving a little bit further back in the mix because peer recommendations, what's said during forums, the information that's passed on by individuals that you value their thoughts and you feel that they their objectivity is important, and you'll look to them as to what they're saying, what they're thinking. So this fad, I don't think so. 93% of marketers use social media for business, and that number is probably changing as we speak. Another important factor I want to share with you that was brought in the statistical video, we no longer search for products, services. They find us. And it's true. Through things like RSS feeds, really simple syndication, you can basically have right on your dashboard all the information you want in the morning regarding a certain product, service, brand, whatever that you're following. And it's amazing. Marketers know who's looking for what, and before you know it, they're right in front of you. The last point I think is extremely important. It's not a matter of having a choice as to whether or not we do social media. The question is how well we do it. The question also is if we're going to gain an edge over the competition, stay a part of the target audience and stay a part of the market, we have to do it not only well but consistently with a lot of thought behind it. So I wanted to share those statistics with you, and we'll move on to why online conversations are different. I referred to this already. Transparency is absolutely key. We need to be radically transparent. People do expect it. If you're not, they're going to challenge you. If you're not, those that are also listening in on this conversation through a blog, through a post, or whatever, they haven't really contributed necessarily, but they're going to call them out, to use the term that my students use, and ask an organization, I don't feel that you're being completely open about this situation. Clarify it for us. So transparency is necessary. It can also be of concern for some organizations, because once you open the door, you can't shut it. You really can't. But then again, we want that open communication because we want our audiences, the people that we're trying to reach out to communicate with us, to feel comfortable, to trust us. So the transparency is one of the vehicles that can make that happen. Now, in public relations, we always look for the concept of long-term relationships. It's not just about today or tomorrow. It's about 3, 4, 5 years from now. And those terms, that relationship rather, can be established through a vibrant digital community. A relationship where you're going to certainly follow them on Twitter, because you know what, if you don't, you might miss something. You're going to friend them on Facebook. You're going to share the information. You're going to like what they post. You're going to be seeing what they're doing on YouTube, because you want that relationship to continue. As an organization, that's exactly what we're looking for. Not just today, not just tomorrow, but down the road. That puts us ahead of the competition. That's really necessary. Now, the public does expect quick and ready answers from PR people, or really anybody involved with the social media realm. It's not a matter, and we've seen so much evidence of this, it's not a matter of something occurs and you get back to them, your target audiences, your customers, your followers the next day. It is just too late. They want to know now what's happening. We've had incidents with airlines, certain transportation problems, certain natural occurring events, and the public wants to know now, is my loved one safe? Is there any more danger in that area? Where are we today? Right now, this minute. So the other point is, if you're going to respond to your public, you have to know what they're asking for, what they're saying. And companies do need to have monitoring services, and there are a number of ways we can do that. We'll talk about several in the next few minutes. But listening is extremely important. Not only listening to your audiences, but listen to the competitors. What are those people that are in similar fields, similar businesses, looking for? What are they saying? How are they communicating? That's an edge for the organization that you represent. So it's important to keep, we used to say keep your ear to the ground. Now it's keep your eyes and ears on the computer. Now we're also looking for policies to expedite quick responses to online threats. So as we're monitoring conversations, it's a term that I call issues management. Before something turns into a crisis, I'm going to be monitoring problems that could escalate. Maybe threats would be too strong of a word, but what is happening within my environment that could be unsettling today and could turn into a real crisis tomorrow? Okay, so as far as conversations, that's what we're going to be looking for. There are challenges, as I said before, for social media campaigns, many challenges. The first one is carrying on a meaningful dialogue in a free-for-all exchange. I should have highlighted that word. I should have put it in bold, because that's the real key. It's meaningful. There's too much out there. It is a free-for-all exchange. But how can I make the content that I'm sharing with my audiences worthwhile, meaningful, that it's going to help them in their lives, make a difference? And sometimes making a difference is truly make them smile that day. It could be just that simple. Make them feel good about humanity, about what they're doing. Give them information that they can use. Tweeting just to say what you had for lunch, quite frankly, nobody cares. But they do care if you can provide information that will help them do their jobs better, have a better family life, just enjoy living more. Now, the other challenge is we need excellent communication, and that relies on a variety of technologies and ways to reach audiences simultaneously. That's a real challenge because you can't be out there, posting all this to all these different mediums and expect that you'll have any time in your day at all. So how can I expedite the process? With all of the technology that's out there, how can I actually capture my audience, let them know what they need to know, and get the message out through a number of different channels? There are ways, and we'll find out. Good campaigns are a blend. They're a blend of approaches to achieve strategic communication. Now, strategic communication, I like to define, is basically a forward-looking idea. If you have a strategy, you're thinking about what will happen in the future, it's the big picture. It's a larger focus. Now, campaigns are not just social media. So I'm not telling anyone, and never will, throw out the traditional. Throw out all the normal, well, not normal, but the tried and true ways of reaching our audiences. It shouldn't be that. It has to be a blend of the traditional. It has to be a marriage between that and the social networks. By putting those factors together, you will reach your target audiences in the way that they gain information. I had students say to me, well, I really don't read the newspaper anymore. It's sort of a scary thought, but it's a fact with many of our younger people. So where do you get your information? Well, let's put it this way. If the networks are down and they can't log on to their computer, panic occurs. So that's how they get their information. So it's a matter of blending your approaches based on the different types of target audiences that you're trying to reach. Social media is not the end-all, but it's a very incredibly valuable tool. So the opportunity or the problem. Now the next thing I want to mention to you is, why are you getting involved in social media? And I think that's a question that has to be answered. So why am I getting involved? What's the reason for using this? Am I trying to reach a specific audience that uses social media? We know that's how they get their information. They don't listen to the radio that much. They don't pick up a newspaper in the morning. So social media is going to be their primary way of finding out what's going on in the world, what's going on in their community. The next question is, does your product or your service lend itself to online dialogue and activities? There aren't too many today, there aren't too many products, there aren't too many services that don't lend themselves to that dialogue, because we want engagement. So in order to have that with our audiences, we need dialogue. We also need a venue for activities that we're involved with, that our organization can tell our audiences about and even showcase in many cases. So it's a perfect venue for doing exactly that. Now, another problem or opportunity is, what are other organizations doing? Are they competing with us? And if so, how can we glean information off of their efforts, their campaigns, and possibly tailor it to our own? So once again, the listening comes in. You're checking out who's doing what within your field. And could we possibly tailor that and use it to reach our own goals? How beneficial would that be? So I am checking out competition. I'm checking out other organizations. What are they doing? How effective? Can I use it for my own? I'm also monitoring current events that could impact the organization, be it within our own communities, globally. It's endless because we are such a global society. And there I go back again to what I've said. Is it an issue today that could turn into a crisis tomorrow? So I'm constantly monitoring my own global sphere. And depending upon what organization you're involved with, that could be in your own community itself, geographically, or nationally, or globally. Okay, so who are we trying to reach, and how are we going to get to them anyways? The next thing I want to talk about is audience research. And it's a matter of really defining, slicing that audience into segments and figuring out who they are and where do they go for information. So I'm going to use a couple of terms here. In terms of technographics, technology, very simply. If this is my audience, how do I know the types of technology they're going to be using to get information? Well, I'm going to show you something in just a minute that will help. But not everyone who's involved with technology is going to the same places for information. Some are checking out blogs. Some are checking out, yes, the Facebook, the Twitter, the LinkedIn, the ones we traditionally go to. But there are other ways, the RSS feeds, the forums. So who is our audience? How technologically savvy are they? And where are they going to get the information they want? I'm also going to be looking at the geographics. Am I dealing with a specific region? Am I looking at a specific area of the country? Or is my reach more global? And the demographics. Demographics, I'm not only looking at basically a profile regarding income level and male, female levels of education, but I'm looking at values, attitudes, lifestyles. So I would put that VALS next to demographics. What does my target audience really care about? What matters to them in their world? The attitudes they have, the lifestyles that they value, single, family, whatever. And then I'm going to be identifying the digital skills, or the technographics. And as I said a moment ago, where do they go for information? How do they acquire information? You know, amazingly enough, today in the collegiate field, many professors begin their lectures with YouTube videos, because that takes an information that is available in a visual form and it lets our students see it, and they all of a sudden become engaged. So we know that a younger audience acquires information through the visual, and if I'm going to be on their page, so to speak, I better come to them with something that captures their interest from a visual standpoint before I begin. Okay, so I had mentioned before the technographics. How are we going to slice that audience down? So what I want you to see here is something that the Forrester Research Institute, very well regarded organization that's been around for several years. And once again, on my sources, you may want to check this out a little bit further. They came up with a technographic profile, and it's a tool that you can use. And what I did is basically set it up, and we'll see what all these various areas mean in just a minute. And the STP profile, the social technographic profile, you can do this. You can basically, through the links that I'll provide for you at the end, tailor this to your particular target audience. And you can change the age to certain segments of the population. I use the U.S., but there are several countries that you can plug in, and either male, female, or it just doesn't matter. In other words, you can target both. And this particular graph will show you what these people do and categorize them as far as their technology and what they're using. Where do they go to get their information? So to make it easy for us today, I used an age group, 25 to 34, and I went for female, and I went for the U.S. I plugged those numbers in. And if you'll see here, most of these people are joiners and they're spectators. So what does that mean anyways, right? Well, it's a start, so let's see what it means. Okay. This basically is Forrester's STP ladder, which tells all of us, the types of technology my target audience will utilize to gain information. It's just that simple. And it's basically groups, as it said on the bottom, in at least one of the activities monthly. So they're actually involved in many of these activities far more frequently than monthly. So if you go up and down this ladder, you can see the various areas. But we'll look at the spectators and the joiners for just a minute, because that's one that I used as an example. And you'll see, under joiners, they maintain a profile on a social networking site. So they probably are going to be on Facebook. They have their own profile on Twitter. They're going to be involved usually with LinkedIn. They visit social networking sites frequently. This is one of the things they do almost every day. Now, the spectator group, that was at high percentage on that graph I showed you a minute ago. Well, they are watching and they're listening. That's the simplest way of saying it. They're reading blogs. They're listening to podcasts. They're watching videos. And they're reading online forums because they want to know what their peers are saying. They're reading customer ratings and interviews before they're traveling. Before they're doing much of anything, they want to know what their peers are thinking about a particular hotel or a cruise line or whatever they're considering. And they're also tweeting. They're reading tweets. So if I'm looking to target that particular audience, that female audience that I just mentioned in the U.S., the odds are I'm going to build a social media campaign utilizing all of those things I just mentioned to you. Certainly for the spectators, I have a lot of things I can be using, and also for the joiners. So that's why I'm saying you have to cut through some of this clutter, and this is one way of beginning it, by really defining who you're trying to reach in your target audience. Okay, let's go to a couple things. All right, we figured out who we're trying to reach, or we think we know. But the question is, what are we trying to do? And that's where, before I would ever work with a client and put together a social media platform for them, or a social media campaign, I would ask, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? And this really has to be the first step, to sit down with your management team and say, what are we doing this for? Do I want to build awareness? Do I want to be recognized as an expert, a cut above? Do I want to track trends? That's important too. What's going on in my industry? And I'm also going to be looking for, what's the feedback regarding a particular situation, a particular movement within my organization, my field? Do I want to provide breaking news? Do I want to create a relationship? Do I want to build my own community? So communities, once again, it's something that we value, and we do want our own group of followers, people that will come to us for information. They feel comfortable. They've developed that relationship with us. Am I looking to basically communicate? I have a lot to say. How do I let my target audiences know what my company's doing, what we're about, how we're different, where are we moving? Can I promote and incite action? In other words, take the couch potato and get them up and moving. What can I put into my social media platforms to make that happen, to get them involved? Or the last one, a very important one, I have a lot of information to share. I want to share it with people that will find it to be of value. I personally share a lot of information on my Twitter page because my students are looking for the types of things and articles that come across through my social media networks. So I want them to know this is what's out there, this is what you need to be aware of. So the answer might be yes to all of the above. But at that point, then I would start to prioritize. What are you really looking, what are you trying to do first? It's not always easy to do, but this to me is a necessary step that any organization has to take before they enter any social media campaign. Now I mentioned just a moment ago listening and the importance of listening. Because if you're going to engage in a dialogue, you have to know what people are saying. You have to, quote, get in the game. So if you have an online community, you want to figure out what are people saying and how can I enter into that conversation in an intelligent manner, in a meaningful way. So we would look at 5 basic strategies, and Lee and Vernoff are, once again, social media experts, and I refer to the books that they have published in my sources. And I would encourage you, honestly, to check out both of them. So we're listening to better understand. What is the conversation within my realm? What are they saying beyond the words? What's the deeper meaning behind it? I used the term meaning before. Understanding, meaning, and then I can take action. I'm going to also be talking to spread messages. So I'm going to be listening so I can, in fact, take my message and have it be passed on to my followers. I'm going to be energizing, through listening, enthusiasts, because those enthusiasts can serve as my advocates. So I'm going to be listening to the bloggers, those people that are blogging about topics that I find to be of interest, that involve the type of business I'm in, and connect with them, engage with them, comment on their blogs, get into their world, into their network. And hopefully they will, in fact, respond. If they're a good blogger, they will, and promote my message. I have things to say. Let me use that platform as another way of saying it. I'm also going to be supporting my followers, listening to what my followers want to know, what they're saying, and turn around is fair play. Supporting their efforts too. Retweeting some of the things that they're posting on Twitter, liking, sharing. But I'll be listening to what they are saying first and then moving past that point. I'm also going to be embracing by integrating followers into my business. Now, this is kind of an interesting way of approaching it. Because I'm looking for and I'm listening to the feedback that my target audience is providing, I'm going to be taking that feedback and generating it back into my organization. I care enough about what they're saying, and I value them, so why would I not use their ideas, use their thoughts to enhance the value of my business, my organization, and what I provide for them. So I'm not just listening to them, but I'm doing something with the information I'm getting. So those are 5 basic strategies, but listening is so important. You really cannot engage in social media until you know what the marketplace looks like. What are people saying? What do they care about? Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is your message, your theme in your message. So what differentiates high-impact social media campaigns from the mediocre? Well, engagement, connection, the ability to reach out to your audience and not only listen to what they're saying, their suggestions to you, but to act on them. Your theme in the message also has to have the question answered. Do you have an interesting, engaging story? And what makes it interesting and engaging? Well, a number of things. I would take human interest, honestly, and put it right at the forefront. Stories that have that human interest component, they attract attention. People want to be involved. They also interest people if you have a certain level of drama attached to your social media message. Conflict, obviously, that brings in people. These are basically newsworthy qualities, yes. But in social media, that's an important component in your theme, in your message. How can I take it past the mundane into something that my audience wants to connect with? Notable personalities, of course. You can do any type of social media event, bring in the Tim Tebow types, and all of a sudden, you know, your Facebook will light up. Your Twitter will be just off the charts. The notable personalities attract attention. And drama, of course. But the theme and the message need to be developed before any social media campaign can be. So once you've defined what am I trying to accomplish, move to that next step of saying, what kind of message do I really want to get out there? And how can I set myself apart from other people who are doing similar things? So the answer to tell a compelling story is exactly it, for all the reasons that I just mentioned to you. Now, it is all about content. It's not just a matter of posting what you had for lunch. As I say, nobody cares. But your message, your content, in order to connect, has to reach out and embrace the audience's values and engage them through your social media. Why does my particular audience value this in their lifestyle? And how can I make the content of my blogs, of my posts, reflect the importance that they put on that particular value in their lifestyle? I'm also going to be looking for similarities. In my content, how can I show how my organization has similar values and has a similar outlook on life with my audience? I'm also going to be looking for vivid descriptions and imagery in my content, which is why vehicles like YouTube are so effective, because you have that vivid description using the graphics, and narratives, because you want the emotional response. You want the narrative. Let them know about your expertise. That's another important thing in content. Why does your organization rise above? What makes you different? What do you have within your company, within your group, that really makes them stellar? It's not necessarily about, and it can be, what you do, but also about who you are. That's part of your expertise too. Why does this particular employee feel it's so necessary that they stay with the organization for 15 years? That's a level of your expertise to command that kind of person for that long of a period. Now, there's a number of tools available for you to do this. Web-based videos or media, blogs, photos, podcasts, YouTube videos. But the real concern is what type of important, interesting, necessary content can I put in to my posts, in whatever form they take, that will connect and engage with my audience. Okay, we want to interact and participate in existing conversations. And that's part of connecting too. And as I mentioned before, commenting on blogs, seeing who's out there and what they're saying, and contribute to them, to forums, to chat rooms. Those are tools available. And we as an organization gain credibility and loyalty with social media followers through the quality of the content. Why am I following this blog? Why will I check this out every single day? Well, because there's something there of importance to me. It's a quality product for my purposes. Our goal is to create and deliver content targeted directly at our audience and develop messages your followers want to hear. Not only want to hear, but if they are losing contact with you for any reason, they feel cheated. They're out of the loop and they don't like it. So the messages that you develop and the importance of those messages will nurture a group of followers. They want to be with you every single day. Now, how are we going to do this? It sounds like a big task, and it is. But you know, once again, one of my resources that I've sourced at the end will show you 5 ways to create content and save time and effort. Because most organizations don't have a whole staff devoted to just creating content for social media. So some shortcuts possibly. And let me point these out to you. Share a statistic or useful information. That's the first thing. Possibly an infographic on an emergency response technology that you post and others can share through social networks. Industry specific. Lists from information that your followers could find overwhelming. Now, you don't want to provide a list of 21 things, but post a summary online with a link to a full article. Once again, valuable content, people can use it. Existing assets work for you. For instance, a leader maybe of your organization speaks at an event, an opening, what have you, something within the community. Take the key talking points or the Q&A sessions, post them in a blog entry. It's a summary. It's a way of engaging with your audience. The other thing we could think about is looking at, once again, listening to existing stories on the same topic. Pull them together so followers can access these resources in a single location, possibly on your webpage or on your blog. An example would be 10 articles, and build them as must-reads on pet safety during a natural disaster. So it's just a matter of a compilation, but it's manageable with your target audience. They can understand, they can digest this. It's not overwhelming, and it's worthwhile. And the last one, shortcut, would be to find material that fellow content creators have already produced. I'm not advocating plagiarism by any means, but craft it into new content for your followers. Attribute it, of course, but use what's out there. We don't always have to reinvent the wheel. Short videos pulled together for a web series could give multiple ways to experience the content. So, once again, quick snippets, important information that they can share. So, content development does not have to be an overwhelming experience. These are 5 ways that you can take some shortcuts and really provide some valuable material for your audiences. Videos, photos, extremely important. We're a visual society. They count tremendously on social media. Video opportunities, we do have to tell a real story. They also need to reinforce your key themes, going back to the concept of the message, the theme. A picture is worth 1,000 words? It can be. But capture the photo opportunity with a sense of drama, and really convey your ideas through the use of the visual. Social media is perfect for that. So this is where clients very often want to just jump in. But I do take them through the preliminaries because we're building a foundation before we get into the various platforms that are out there. And there are so many choices. We are in a social media state of clutter. But what works best for you? The question is, what do you want to accomplish? Go back to your list again. The question, if the statement is all of the above, we have to narrow that down. But what do you really want to do? Now, this is something that I would like you to check out on your own. I've only given you a screenshot of it because, quite frankly, it goes for 2 pages. And this is the CMO's Guide to the Social Landscape. If you'll go to CMO.com, this is the 2012 version. They will probably come out with a new one in the new year. But it takes some of the social media tools that are out there, and it tells you what they're good for or where they shine. So I'm going to give you a summary of this in just a moment. But I do encourage you to go to CMO.com or Google this and see the entire list, the entire 2 pages of it. But we're looking at what do you want to accomplish, right? So customer communication, brand exposure, traffic. SEO is search engine optimization. In other words, when someone brings up your organization, because of the keywords that you place into your public news releases or whatever you're communicating, ways you're communicating, you will pop to the top. But they're listed as good under the green, okay with the gold, and not so great with the red. So it depends on, once again, what you're trying to achieve. Now let me simplify some of this for you. So all of these tools are rated either good or okay for these goals. For our purposes today and based on the audience that we have, I'm looking at customer communication and brand exposure. And basically we're looking at Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google+. So Twitter you're familiar with, I'm sure. It's controlled messages. It's very trackable through a vehicle called Hootsuite, and it's great for customer communication. Brand exposure, same story. We can engage our audiences, spread the news, and tweets go viral. Facebook, it's common, yes, but it's still very prevalent. Top shelf for engaging and sharing opinions. Facebook's ad platforms can also build followers and quick results. LinkedIn, as I said, very often is used for a professional network where comments and questions from groups can help build engagement within a given field. And under brand exposure, it's great for personal and corporate branding. Google+, reasonably new in the marketplace. It's great. It provides features for face-to-face chats and circles of friends. So you're putting people into groups that have a particular interest in what you're trying to say and share with them. For brand exposure, it has 90 million users, and the majority of brand searches show Google+ at the top. Now, continuing on with that list, YouTube, I mentioned that before, customer communication, extremely valuable because you have the visual engagement. Same for brand exposure, and you can build your channels with quality videos. Pinterest is something that is reasonably new in the field of social media. For customer communication, it has limited results, but where you're actually pinning a visual, a photo, but it's great for brand exposure. Users follow you and share your pinned photos with others. Instagram, same type of situation, especially good in brand exposure. It shows your images of products and also services. Now, something that many people don't know about is Quora, and it's excellent for communication with high-level groups of peers, those people within a particular field, your industry. You may want to check that out if you haven't already. It's also terrific for individual branding. So it's specific to certain industries. So let's look at updated content right to your consumer. Based on the nature of my audience today, I wanted to share this with you. And you may want to check this out. Google has many uses, but during a crisis, Google Crisis Response will provide, and I'll show you a screenshot of this, maps of current conditions, for instance, the Sandy situation, evacuation routes, links to area webcams, emergency centers. There's the whole 9 yards for you. A wonderfully important factor, updates for relatives and friends in a given area. What is happening within that particular area. During a previous hurricane, I guess Google Response was also utilized. So even though it's reasonably new, it has been utilized prior to the Sandy situation. Really simple syndication. We call it an RSS feed. This is so convenient because you have updated content right to your consumers' personalized home pages using Google or Yahoo. The link appears on your web page, and viewers actually subscribe to it. It's a little red, well, orange-red icon, and it's very simple to use. Now, if you're looking to learn more about RSS feeds, I've given you a link here. I would suggest you go to it, or I'm certainly happy to address questions on how you can determine RSS feeds and also create some of your own. So, but the really amazing part is the information comes right to them, as we said earlier. They don't have to search for it. This is the Google Response map, the tool that I'd like to have you take a look at, and it did provide an up-to-the-minute information source for Sandy's path, and it really was amazingly useful. And as I mentioned, Hurricane Isaac, apparently they used it for that too. And it's a way of tracking friends or family through webcams and ensuring that they're sound, they're safe. Now there are various layer options, as it says, that you can find location-specific information, shelters, traffic information, and so forth. Extremely valuable. Excuse me. So getting back to updated content. Well, another way of providing content, widgets. You've probably seen them, weather widgets, and they appear on a consumer's dashboard or desktop. And another way of finding out what widgets are out there, and there are many of them, Splashcast. And it displays constantly updated pictures and video feeds. So you can create your own widget, or you can actually tap into some that are already out there. I would also encourage first responders to think about apps, and those are loaded to multiple devices, and those will provide updated and specific content. Today it seems like we have an app for everything. You know, if it's determining distance on a golf course, or where to go in an emergency situation and take your pet. Now the other thing you might want to think about is Hootsuite. Now Hootsuite, I'm an advocate of Hootsuite. You would think that they paid me or something. They don't, but it's an easy way to post to all networks pardon me, from one centralized dashboard. You can schedule a message ahead of time, which is extremely valuable. You can actually have a Twitter post that will come out 3 hours past the time you schedule it, or whatever. You can integrate applications and generate reports to see how messages are performing. So Hootsuite also gives you the metric to figure out if your social media is working. Excuse me. Okay, now communication tips, social media management tips during a crisis. Pardon me. So how can I maximize social media during a crisis situation? So we can leverage the real-time nature of social media. It is instantaneous. You can have an outreach plan in place, just like we develop a crisis communication plan for a traditional campaign. You can do that through social media. That will provide fast answers, quick information, and figure out, what am I going to post to Facebook? What am I going to post to Twitter? When, how, do I want to schedule my posts ahead of time? How can I have that real-time advantage? Be sure that you schedule or centralize your social media monitoring in advance. And that's where Hootsuite comes into play. It's a big screen dashboard where you can see your Facebook posts, your Twitter. You can see a number of different posts on this. and it's all in one central location, where all your multiple tools of communication are visible to you without going from screen to screen. Taking advantage of mobility is really important. You're out in the field, and how do you monitor your social media networks? Through a smartphone or your laptop, but today the technology allows us to do that. We don't have to be sitting at a desk to make that happen. Keep it simple, obviously. Set up a system in advance for monitoring your clients, your team, and yourself. Okay, now when do you post? I'll leave this chart up for you to look at, but basically it gives you a good idea of the best times to post, the best days, and also hours of the day. And I just used Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr as three vehicles, social media vehicles that you can use. But you want to maximize your clicks, and this is really the best time, according to some of my resources, to make that happen. Pardon me. Now, there are additional social media monitoring tools that you can use, and I've given you some here. Seismos, many people don't know about these tools, but they monitor social media conversations, part of the listening again, on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, forums, and blogs. These are free. In many cases, not all, you may want to, or they offer an upgrade package for you, and that's fine. But for the most part, you can get the basic package and not pay for it at all. Screener creates instructional videos. Once again, the how-to. How to pack for an emergency situation. How do you do whatever is necessary for safety during summer when the boating season arrives. Okay, and it can be posted to your Twitter or downloaded. Postling is something that many people don't know about, and here you can track and engage and publish to your social media profiles through one dashboard, similar to Hootsuite. But the neat part, it emails notifications when comments are made on your Facebook page. So once again, monitoring, keeping an eye on who's saying what, that's part of the listening. Argyle Social, it's a URL shortener, in other words, your website, and it separates your shares on Twitter from those on Facebook to deliver different messages around the same content. All of these are additional ways of utilizing social media, taking it to the next step beyond those that we're traditionally accustomed to. But I would encourage you definitely to check these out. They are extremely valuable. Storyfy, it's another one where we can aggregate and curate content from around the web. It's great for events and for launches. Twilert, like Google Alerts for Twitter, we can receive emails each day for your keywords or mention of your organization. So, are my tweets doing anything? Is anybody really bothering with them? Something like Twilert is a monitoring tool that will answer those questions for you. Okay, we're going to wrap up in just a few minutes, but it's a product. Effective communication is, in fact, a product of ongoing communication and relationships, and it involves these factors: trust, a bit of risk, of course, and vulnerability. But it has to be mutual, recognition that the company and the publics are tied together, and that link demands and necessitates collaboration. It has to be spontaneous. Your public wants to know today, not next week, what's going on. Empathy, common goals and interests, aligning with their values and attitudes and their lifestyles. There is a risk involved. Because of the transparency, we have to be not only open but willing to interact with publics on their own terms. And commitment, the willingness to keep engaged. Truly, once you begin social media, you can't shut the door. But then again, why would you? The group influence principle is indeed dominant. People want to follow the lead of their affinity groups, and it's a matter of building affinity, the common bond with your target audiences. And yes, they want to follow you because they don't want to miss anything. Okay, I'm going to give you just a couple of ideas and as far as how to monitor your results. There are customized research packages available, and some of these you do pay for. Radian 6 would be one example. to really determine from a metric standpoint as to whether or not your social media is effective. And some of the other ones, Facebook Insights for Search, I don't believe that, I think that is still free, although this changes so often. So once again, here are some tools that you can use to figure out whether these efforts are being productive from a metric standpoint. Return on investment. Now, if we're going to look at our objectives, we have to look at evaluating them a little differently than we would a traditional campaign. It is more complex than in traditional campaigns. So we're looking for some different things. Using Facebook pages, I can determine, is anybody aware of what I'm doing? Who's viewing my Facebook pages? The videos on YouTube, who's checking them out? I'm also going to be looking for attitude. And to do that, I'll be looking at the number of friends or followers or likes I have on my pages. Behavioral. I'm going to be looking at seeing if the behavior of my target audiences have been affected at all by what I've said. I'll be looking at sales if it's appropriate, yes, but attendance at events, surveys of changed behavior. So those are the three areas that we really want to see. Awareness, am I communicating? Are people informed of what's happening within my organization? Has their attitudes changed? Has it been hopefully enhanced? And behavior, are they doing anything about it? Once again, here's some great online analytical tools that you can use to accomplish that process, most of which are free. I hesitate because things move so quickly, we really never know. So in conclusion, the nature of social media can change your audience's expectations, and they do for dialogue and engagement. The forms of communication are necessary. Connections are absolutely imperative. Conversations have to be nurtured. Collaboration, same story. Don't always be reinventing the wheel. And use the technology, the multimedia, to get your message out there. Social media involves establishing a favorable working condition, relationship between an organization and the online communities, and valuing their feedback and incorporating it back into your organization. And the success or failure of social media depends on this. And it really does. The success or failure of many organizations depends on the intelligent and productive use of social media. So I've mentioned some sources before. I would encourage you, because I know you'll be receiving a copy of this presentation, to check these out. Particularly look at Hootsuite. Once again, they're not paying me to say this, but I feel it's extremely valuable. So you might want to also check out Deidre Breckenridge's books. She's, once again, one of our social media gurus. So that's pretty much it. And I'll toss it back at you, Stephanie, for some questions.
Great. Thank you, Rosemary. Great presentation. And we'll quickly get through some questions now that you all had. And again, we will be sending you a copy of this presentation. You will be getting it in your email in just a couple of minutes. Rosemary, I don't believe I actually see any questions. I think you were that thorough, so thank you. So again, we'll send you this presentation, and we definitely appreciate everybody's time today. I'll click through this last slide here. So if you do have any more questions, Rosemary has graciously opened herself up for questions following this session. Her contact information is up there on the screen. And again, thank you everybody for attending today's session. Rosemary, we very much appreciate your time.
You're more than welcome. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.